Okay, I'm live. Let me just throw this up there, folks. Actually, while I give a few people a chance to get notified of stream here, I'm just going to throw this on there real quick. Someone else shared this. A friend of mine on Facebook, Cindy Cunningham. Actually, I've seen it. Quite a few people using it there today, and I've uploaded it on my own profile on my Facebook page, on Twitter, on a few of the other ones. But anyways, as you see it, if you just go to my Twitter, uh, Canadian CAN_libertarian, or like I say, my Canadian Libertarian Facebook page, you can find this profile picture, and it's perfectly sized, so it'll fit perfectly within the circle for your profile picture. So, like I say, it's just a small thing to do to show some solidarity and support for the truckers who are fighting for freedom out there. And really, I got to say, I'm really grateful and thankful for that group, that convoy that's on their way to Ottawa. And I'm seeing today that they're coming from all different, from the East Coast, from the West Coast. They're starting to really rally around each other and showing solidarity with each other. Even the vaccinated truck drivers. See, this is the thing, right? This kind of division, this is the stuff that's being whipped up, by the media class or the political class. This is where we get the opportunity to lead by example and show how it's done. Show how you unite Canadians rather than divide them, right? And I believe that's going to be hopefully an effective strategy and something that's going to take place as a result of this convoy of these truckers for freedom. And once again, really appreciate that. If you've been to the grocery store today and there's still food there, well, you can thank the truck drivers. Anyways, but like I say, I'm just going to give a few minutes for people to stream in. I've pulled this off and I'll get back to it. But I do see there's a couple people already commented. Let me just check out on the comments. Hey, New, how's it going? New. The elephant in the room is that blacks are disproportionately unjabbed, yet disproportionately vote for the collectivists in office. Massive political realignment coming soon. Well, that's actually something I started noticing taking place, even during the 2016 US election with Donald Trump, where you see not just blacks, but Latinos, I mean, not a majority by any stretch of the imagination, but you did kind of see that shift already taking place down in the US, where Trump actually got a fair amount of support from the blacks and Latinos. Well, that's the thing. I mean, to me, the crazy part, anyways, is like I say, whatever your identifier or like, whether it's your, what's between your legs or the color of your skin, I mean, it's so self-destructive to even have that kind of victim mentality to begin with. I've always found, anyways. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see an alignment. Well, think about it. Who's being placed in the same camp, right? Who's big government targeted today, right? It's kind of strange because that's the thing, right? Each individual, and even if you want to break it down into just groups, right? Each group, right? What's a group? Well, just a bunch of individuals, but even a group, right? You're going to find, that's the thing, we may agree or disagree with things. That's the beautiful thing about humans being individuals, right? But even when you talk about these groups, on a much larger scale, yeah, who would have ever thought, in 2022 that you would have truck drivers, right? Healthcare professionals, libertarians, anarchists, right? Black people, First Nations people. I mean, there's lots of people today who are finding themselves in the exact same position and being targeted by the political and the media class, right? So, yeah, I'm sure for some of these people that align in particular groups, right? They're looking around, it's like, especially if they're protesting or, congregating on social media pages. They're looking, it's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I've been told by my thought leaders that I'm supposed to hate these people because they're bad, right? But yeah, here's this person that I'm supposed to loathe and have disdain for, vocally expressing support for people like me. They want me to have freedom. Imagine that, right? So, like I say, that's a great point to bring up, New. It really is. And yeah, to me, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. And who cares? Like I say, to me, it makes no difference what's between your legs or what particular pigment your skin is, right? Yeah, it's all about liberty at the end of the day. And I mean, who are these strange, weird, ideologically creatures who are railing against freedom? I mean, wow, right? Whatever kind of term or phrase you want to use to describe that, right? Mass hysteria, mass formations, Other one, psychology or whatever, all the different crazy, crazy things. But it is quite a wild thing to see. And yeah, it may very well, like you say, turn out to be that liberty will not only show to have an actual much bigger tent, but will be the place for people to go and to congregate. Because really, that's the beauty about liberty and the principles of liberty. It's something that everybody should cherish and hold dear, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your heritage, doesn't matter any other of those identifiers. Liberty, personal freedom, autonomy, and responsibility, right? All those things is something, like I say, most people, if you talk to them without getting into the politics of things, they would agree with you, right? It's when they bring in, typically you'll find when you'll find these agreements, dissolve and turn into divisiveness or disagreements is the minute the media or the political class start stirring up those rhetoric or rhetoric that is meant to create that kind of division. But once again, we're seeing that is definitely something that's going to change. Anyways, thanks for the comment. They plan for that too by bribing illegals, locking up protesting opposition, changing rules, and outright fraudulent voting. Well, they've been doing a lot of crazy stuff. And thanks for joining the stream there, David. I appreciate it, man. Missing. Hey, what's going on? Missing YouTube cringe channel. The vaxxed are on board now because they don't want boosters. That's another really good point, right? A lot of the folks out there in Canada, those 80 some plus percent, they got themselves fully vaxxed, right? Or what they thought at the very least was fully vaxxed, like the 2 jabs, right? Even though they did the first one, then they're like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to get another. Okay, they roll up their sleeves again, and now, as we're seeing by quite a few media reports that I've even touched on already, yeah, it's getting to the point now where, yeah, you're going to need that third shot, that booster, to even be considered fully vaccinated, right? So that's the thing. The people that went along with all this nonsense, did everything that they were told to do, sacrifice for that greater good, and now they're saying, well, apparently their sacrifice was in vain. And yeah, that's going to be quite disheartening to a lot of people, no doubt. Anyways, thanks for joining the stream as well. Let's see what's going on. Hey, Ian Myers, how you doing, my friend? Good morning, freedom lovers. Yes, you got to love the freedom today. Well, at least we're hoping to see it get a little bit of a bump, a little rise, a little boost. Right? Want to talk about a boost, right? Forget about the boosters. We need a boost in freedom. And it looks like the truck drivers rolling on to Ottawa have that in mind. Hey, B, what's going on? Libitas. Ibatlis. IB or Pound Atlas. I always mess up with that one for some reason. I don't know. My bad. Sorry about that. What's going on, Michael Griffin? Good morning from BC. Hey, what are you still doing in BC? No, I'm just kidding. If you were a truck driver, you should be on your way to Ottawa. Just kidding, of course. But yeah, it's really great, like I say, to know that the folks I wonder how far they've made it. It's a thing. I wish things were a little more coordinated. Although I have seen the amazing thing I seen was the GoFundMe page. I seen it this morning. It's up over $1 million already in support, so to pay for people, like for the convoy, for, lots of expense, eating and stopping in restaurants and, other things that they'll need to do. So yeah, that's a great thing. And the fact that they're having to take time off of work, or they're not, getting paid, right? So yeah, you got to help these folks out. And like I say, it's really impressive to see that Canadians have already stepped up the plate to help them. Groovy Grover, you should get Theo Fleury for an interview. Great Canadian hero like yourself. Well, thank you very much for that. Actually, I see him on Twitter, actually, Theo Fleury. And yeah, I believe I actually follow him over there on the old Twitterverse. And yeah, that's something I'll consider. Like I say, that I haven't gotten into it as of yet. Before I got totally into doing interviews, I wanted to make sure, get all my P's and Q's in order, make sure my live streams aren't going to be breaking down like they used to historically. Like I said, I want to get everything sorted and fixed and working properly before I start getting into the interviews. But that's something I'm definitely looking forward to doing going forward. And not just people like, Theo Fleury, but lots of other great Canadians as well. Matt Dugas is every day Sunday. And does the rest just make you weak? Hello, morning. Thanks for joining the stream, Matt Douglas. Yeah, every day Sunday. It seems like it. Oh, it's Groundhog Day in COVID land. Did you check the videos on this being gene therapy? Pump Master. Did I or did I know? I'm just going to check. Whoa, what's this? Whoa, what in the heck? The latest reset was 2022 years ago in society of that time. In which year was the day? Yeah. Well, I believe what you're trying to say was the birth of Christ, right? Because that is 2022 years ago is, well, the birth and resurrection of Christ, or the death and the resurrection of Christ, right? So when you talk about BC or AD, BC is before Christ and AD is after death, right? So yeah, I see what you're saying, but wow, is that a donation of $139? That is super duper generous. I really, really, really appreciate that, Matt. Wow, that's quite amazing, and I will definitely 100% actually use some of that to help support some others as well, and make it and put it to good use. I assure you of that. I really appreciate your support there, Matt Dugas. Very, very generous of you, my friend. Let's see. The elephant in the room is the Vatican papacy. See, to me, I don't get into those. I get what you're saying, and once again, I'm not trying to, um, deny anything what you suggest or say. But to me, the big thing is it's the belief in authority that is the biggest issue. The lack of critical thinking skills when it comes to authority, right? Or people having the proper understanding that yes, it's good to challenge it, at least when you take baseline principles, right? So just like with math, there's some really difficult aspects of mathematics, algebra being one of them. But the most important thing is at least to understand the very basic formula, right? And then you can expand from there. And the base formula of liberty is, right, especially from the libertarian philosophy, is, self ownership. I own me. Nobody gets to claim ownership over me. Same with my property, right? Self ownership and property, right? Same thing. Nobody has any legal or legitimate claim or authority to lay claim over me, my body, make me a serf, subject, or slave, or to take any of my possessions or my property against my will without my express permission, right? That's theft. So we get all of this stuff. Kind of lost my train of thought here. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. But yeah, so like whether you're talking about the Vatican, George Soros, right? The elites at the World Economic Forum, 100%. A lot of this stuff and these individuals and these organizations, these groups are definitely a detriment to liberty. But the thing is, when you target specific groups or institutions, you kind of really at the end of the day, you're throwing a whole lot of individuals right under the collective bus needlessly, which is why I like to discuss the ideas of things. So the idea is, if the Vatican or these people or the WEF, if they're trying to circumvent human sovereignty and individual liberty, right? That's the most important part. It's not a matter of who they are or what organization they particularly align with, although that's good knowledge, right? It's good to know. But at the end of the day, it's that belief in authority. It's that blind, unquestioning belief in authority. That is the problem. That's the major issue that we have to overcome, or at least get the bulk of the people in whatever our society or geographical landmass, wherever we live. That's the most important thing that we can do, is get people up to the maturity level in their intellect where they don't have to subject themselves to some authority. I mean, that is the history of mankind, is people subjecting themselves to an authority, because we all recognize that we don't know everything. So sometimes we have to lean on others and hope that they'll have knowledge that we don't. The problem is when you take that to the extreme where you're now not even questioning them, right? And that's the problem with the established media and the way things are set up, especially with this term being tossed around. You're seeing that today, especially, like how many times you see the word expert, right? And that's done with a political intention and purpose. What the reason why they call these people experts, and then like say someone like myself that's questioning the narrative, like I would be considered a conspiracy theorist, or maybe they'd call me an anti-vaxxer. So what that is it's a weak, it's a pathetic way, but it seems to be effective for some people who don't think critically. See, that's the thing. If you're not willing to think critically about it and you just align with a tribe, right, with that kind of collective in-group preference type of thing, then yes, people will not listen to reason. which is why, like I say, it's so important to break people's mind free in the belief in authority. And the best way to do that, what worked best for me, I heard lots of arguments and explanations, but it wasn't until someone actually had to, just the cold hard truth is that there's no such thing as legitimate government. That's just 100% reality, and it can be proven so easily because the whole pretense of government, right, is that we as the citizens, we vote, and we somehow, and same with the auspices of the social contract, that we somehow give these people authority, right? We delegate these authorities to these people, to I don't know what, create a peaceful, prosperous society. But here's the thing, right? The very concept, the very idea, the very premise of being able to delegate an authority that you don't possess onto some other human being, it's impossible, right? It's literally impossible. I know some of you folks that watch my videos and my streams on a regular basis, you're like, okay, Bennett, we've heard it a million times, but there are some new people in the chat, so maybe they haven't, right? But I just want to point that out because it's really, really important. Is, I don't have a right to go to my neighbor and say, I want to take a portion of your income, right? But I'm doing it for the greater good, and you have to give it to me. You have no choice in the matter. You have to, right? I don't have any authority to do that. And if I even tried to do it, my neighbor would look at me like, you insane? But yet that is precisely how it happens through the political process, right? Is instead of going over and telling them directly, I just go, vote for a specific politician or political party and apparently try to delegate that authority onto them, which once again, it can't happen. It's an impossibility. I can't delegate that authority onto one person. I can't delegate that authority onto 10 people or 1,000 people. It's an impossibility. Same with if I wanted to control my neighbor, right? Just like with the vaccines, I couldn't go over to my neighbor and say, hey, you better take that vaccine, right? He'd look at me, I don't think so, right? You have no authority to tell me what substance I should put in my arm or not, right? Or in my body. Who the hell are you? But yet, once again, people believe that they can somehow, and even with the pretense of like an emergency order, like as if morality or ethics or principles or inherent or inalienable rights can somehow be circumvented or overridden because someone wrote something on a piece of paper, parchment or paper, right? Once again, absolute bullshit. Matter of fact, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny is just as legit and is just as real as government in terms of legitimacy, right? And that is just reality. Now, most people, they've never heard that in their entire life, right? I didn't hear that for the overwhelming majority of my life, right? Now, I have always, even when I was younger, had questioned authority a lot. I did. So I was probably more susceptible to leading in the direction I do, where I question things and want to learn, right? But as we recognize, there are a lot of Canadians in this country who don't. Anyways, going to move on because I know I tend to ramble from time to time. But yeah, thanks for all the great comments. Trump lost support by pushing his beautiful vaccines. Mine for sure. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Trump did some great things, but I'm not such a big cult of personality kind of guy anyways, right? And to be honest with you, part of me is thinking, let me just go off on another little bit of a tangent here. Sorry about that, folks. Part of me is almost thinking, I hope Trump doesn't run in 2024. And I know you'll probably think, well, what? Well, here's the thing. DeSantis, right, in Florida. And, oh, shoot, I'm having a hard time thinking the other guy's name down there in Texas, right? Or a few other of them. South Dakota, I believe, too, right? Governor there. I mean, definitely DeSantis. I think he would be a much better choice, to be honest with you. It seems to be anyways, right? Seems like he would be, if you're an American down there and you want someone to challenge the status quo or the establishment and, might even have a better chance of winning. Well, I mean, if Trump did win, so who knows about that? But I mean, I think DeSantis would be the guy. Personally, that's just my whole thing, my spiel, or how I would vote if I were down there. If he's even going to run, we don't know. That's the thing, we don't know. But yeah, Trump with the pushing of the vaccine. Well, I mean, to me, it's like you do you, I'll do me. The big thing would be, would Trump force this stuff, right? That would be the big question to me. Would he be going along with forcing this stuff? That would be the big thing, because people's opinion, each their own. You can have your own opinion. Matter of fact, if you're one of those people who want to have 10 jabs, right, go for it. Just don't think that you can force it on me. That's really what it comes down to. That's the line in the sand for me, right? Albertans should still Alberta should what? That's something that is always up to the Albertan people. Here's the problem when you're talking about Alberta. Like that's the thing. This is the problem with everything when you're talking about in collective terms. It's not a monolith, right? There are look at Notley won out there before Kenny did, right? So there's a few quite or at least a substantial portion of Albertans who are kind of socialist leaning, right? So I'm sure that the people who are against big government and collectivism would love to leave, Canada and become their own independent nation. No doubt, lots of Albertans probably would. But would they be allowed to? Because that's the thing with democracy, right? Especially when you're talking about countries breaking up. Like you have to. There's a pretty high bar for that, right? But anyways, I'm with you, and I hear what you're saying. And of course, we should all be sovereign. Well, if you look into Chrislam, you may be disgusted, Libby. Pound Atlas. Okay. Okay, let's see. Alberta left. The people just have to catch up. Hey, what's going on? Dmitry Fyodorov. Hey, what's going on? VORONG. Not even quite sure what that is. Is that some kind of a code or something? Not quite sure what that is, but I think. Thanks for joining the stream. I just need to be band together for freedom. Okay. All right, let me see here. And then I do got to get to covering a couple things. But anyways, just wanted to say thanks for your videos. Oh, no problem, my friend. No problem. And thank you, Jesus Gonzalez, which unfortunately I must usually listen to later. Oh, that's fine. Like I say, no problem at all. I completely understand that. People have hectic and busy schedules, work and being with the family. Totally understand that. But thank you for the support. And I know you've been around for a long time and a long time supporter. So thanks again. Jesus, thank you very kind. Hey, Paul Bissonette, how you doing? Good morning from Saskatchewan. Right on. Hopefully there's lots of truckers heading east from the big province of Saskatchewan. Who do we got here? Yeah, that third booster that doesn't work against the current flavor. Yeah, right? Right. I know. It's pretty wild. I mean, come on. There's new vaccines coming to the market. So what is the point? Uh, Lots of information out there now. Oh, there's a tremendous amount of information. Actually, it's all that information which is causing the narrative makers to panic, right? The narrative is crumbling hardcore and they're panicking. And you can see it because even people who are willing to go along with the narrative, right, are coming around saying, okay, that's it. I'm done. It's over, right? So yeah, they're in desperation mode, no doubt. The truckers aren't paid by the government like the doctors. They'll bring this to the attention of those asleep. Empty shelves have a way of making people wake up. You're right on with that there, Ian Myers. Big time, my friend. Holy jumping. Yeah. And like I say, I hope people were wise enough to make sure that they were prepared in just an event that does prove to be successful. And like I say, it doesn't even have to last that long. Although you don't want to telecast exactly, but yeah, there has to be something, right? I mean, this is the thing, and it is a non-violent, peaceful way of getting not just the people's attention, but like I say, the political and media classes' attention, right? Because they've been, sitting back during this almost 2 years now, right? They've been sitting back, like I say, stoking those flames of division, right? And I mean, a lot of them have been benefiting tremendously from all these lockdowns, getting to work from home, right? So they're not having to commute, and they're really seeming to be enjoying it. Some of them, anyways. But like I say, once again, I forget where I was going with that. Anyways, okay, here we go. Let me scroll down. It almost seems like I was going backwards on the lots of off-grid communities popping up. That's true too. And hey, Can, thanks for chiming in. That's true too. Yeah. Joe Rogan knows exactly the treatment needed. How could so-called professional healthcare heads not know the treatment? Well, so that's the thing. When it comes to that stuff, I just, you know, I offer information from multiple people's perspectives, and I usually don't try to get into that stuff, the medical aspect myself, because I can't make a truly informed opinion. But what we got here, there's a lot of videos, crazy shit floating around those shots on Telegram. It's been since I caught. It's been what's this? Let me check here. Am I having any issues? Let me just make sure I'm not having any issues. I'm going to open up old YouTube here and make sure that the stream's working. Hopefully, I'm not having any issues. I'm just going to double check here, folks. So hold on here. The stream's working. Yeah, seems okay. Seems okay at this particular junction, I believe. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to hope that everything's okay. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. It's been coon sage. I'm not even sure what that is, or maybe you spelt it. I'm trying to figure it since I've caught you live. Oh, a coon's age. Ah, a coon's age. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Not a real political correct thing to say, but who cares, right? But it's been a coon's age. Yeah, sorry about that. It took me a few minutes. There is no political way out at a national level. We'll have to start local and be patient. Too many Canadians drank the Kool-Aid. That is true. That is true. I tell you, everything does start local, right? That is so true. That is so true. And what was it? Andrew Breitbart, right? He said it best. It Politics truly is downstream of culture. Now, you can get people to politically influence culture for sure. But at the end of the day, if you're going to create some kind of a political movement, well, you better hope that you're at least in tune with the majority of the people in your country, because that will be the culture. That will be what represents the culture. And unfortunately and sadly, the reality today in Canada is, it seems, at least based on the first past the post system, because really you don't need a majority in terms of 50 plus 1%, right? Or 50% plus one. In Canada, it could be as low as 35%. But it does seem that the plurality, those who can give people like Trudeau enough power to do what he's been doing, right? Or even the Conservative Party or NDP, they apparently prefer authoritarian collectivism, right? Where it's the belief that government can take care of you from cradle to grave, and that's all you have to do. Is just, you don't have to work as hard about thinking about things, of producing, of being self-sufficient. You just rely on some third party or externality to take care of you, like I say, from cradle to grave. Now there are, like I say, a substantial amount of Canadians who fit in that category, and it's a sad reality when you think about Canada. A cold, I mean, this morning when I get up, let me just point out, this morning when I get up, it was minus 32 degrees here in New Brunswick, right? Could you imagine 150 or 160 years ago or so, being a Canadian before there was like central heating, right, and indoor plumbing and all that stuff? I mean, think about the brutal conditions that the people who came, to this country from Europe and places, right, that settled in this country, and how much strong, I guess that's why the country, right? Even, and like generation after generation, I guess that was the whole pretense, and why the national anthem, even this country, was strong and free. And, like, we braved the cold and, stood in the tyranny of the collectivists in Europe, right? In the 20th century, right? World War I, World War II, to today in 2022, where, wow, what a shift. What a paradigm shift. What an absolute change to our culture. And how that happened, like I say, folks, there's lots of contributing factors. Some of them that I won't necessarily get into right here, but I've covered it extensively in past videos. But yeah, things are definitely shifting. And what I'm hoping is, maybe this is the time. Maybe that shift has gone too far, and maybe it's time to start heading back in the other directions, back towards liberty. Right? I'm hoping that's the case. And with all this craziness that's taking place, you gotta think, or at least hope, That is going to be the reality going forward because yeah, you can't put the genie back in the bottle now, right? The cat's out of the bag, right? Um, I'm just trying to think of another expression, but yeah, Canadians have finally seen now just how far governments will take things once you give them that kind of power or authority. So there's definitely a lot of things that Canadians are going to have to really sit down and ponder over the next little while. And they're going to have to do it. And I think when it really is going to take place the most is once this whole COVID nonsense has subsided. That's when people are really going to have the time to sit down and reflect. Well, before the authoritarian collectivists start hammering away at the drums of climate change, right? How long before the lockdowns for climate change? Anyways, would Trump go after anyone who pushes dangerous vaccines? Doubt it, since he is one. And did his family invest in the? I'm not sure. There, East Coast Willie, who pushed dangerous vaccines. I don't know. Don't know. Like I say, not too. I haven't really been doing too much thinking about Trump to myself, to be honest with you. Hey, Anarcha Rika, how you doing? None of these governors are good. Being slightly better than Kumo or Holtu isn't saying much. Much of these governors are good. Oh, are good. Yeah. Being slightly better than. Oh, none of these governors are good. So you don't think that DeSantis, once again, like I'm not American, so I'm not 100% sure. Just, I guess he's good on the response to COVID-19, right? But yeah, there might be other areas where maybe not. Oh yeah, Abbott, that's it. Abbott is in Texas for now. Yeah, isn't he supposed to be a pretty good guy from what I understand? He's against all the mandates and stuff. From what I understand, anyways, I could be wrong. All I want is a smaller government that stays out of my life, right? Right? Is that too much to ask? Is it really too much to ask? Right? That's the thing. People, earlier on in not just our country, but the US, pretty much had that, right? That's why our countries grew to be so successful in such a short period of time. Was that amount of freedom, right? That was given and granted. Well, not just granted, but actually, that's a terrible word to use, granted, but was acknowledged and recognized, right? That's the important thing. And that is how it works. At the time, the people realized that government has to acknowledge. So what it is the message was sent that no, you people that want to form government, no, you have to recognize and acknowledge that you cannot infringe my rights. And of course, the people alive at the time were willing to stand in defense of them. So governments basically had to back down, tuck their tail between their legs, and they kept it there for a long time. But it was hollowed away and chipped away at over multiple and successive generations of there's a combination of lots of things like the indoctrination of our education system, the pivoting away from Christianity in terms of where we get our morality or ethics from. Right now, you see a lot of people, they look towards government to get their baseline morals and ethics. And I mean, how terrible of an idea is that, right? Moral is, based on what it is, what it does, evil to the core. It is evil. Government is a monopoly of force or violence. Government is the proverbial bully, right, in the room. So why would anyone pretend that having a big government is a good idea? Well, like I see, some people do it for opportunistic reasons. But even those who do it, at this point in time, you can rest assured a lot of people who chose at the time maybe to vote for big government come to regret that at some point in time in their life. And maybe tried switching over and reversing that course. But by that time, it was too late. There were lots of other people who have fallen for the same scheme. And now, like I say, we liberty lovers, we who want to, and just like Falkers here, who want to shrink government so it's not such a big imposing menace in our life. It's really hard, like I say, to put that genie back in the bottle. Now that in a democracy such as Canada, there's a plurality of people who want to keep it, maintain it, and actually grow it even further. Whoa, what in the heck is that? Sister, what? 19 Lowell online? What the heck is this? Okay, that seems weird. Some strange things are happening. Anyways, welcome, comrade. I don't, what's up with that? Just saw New Brunswick has no cap on rent increase. Terrible. Yeah, there was a story, I believe it was out of New Brunswick just the other day, where I think it was an elderly lady who was given like a $4,500 a year rent increase and told she's got to shovel her own, I don't know, walkway or something. But yeah, no, it's in New Brunswick. It's a free for all kind of thing. No, I'm not suggesting that there should even be such thing as rent control. The problem is, that's the thing. People look out in today and they're like, we're going to need government to come in here and create some kind of rent control because of all this stuff. But if you trace back the reason why you would even need rent control today, it's all because of government and central bank initiatives and policy. So that's the thing. People use government as a means to intervene or interject themselves in the economy to manipulate, distort things, right? And then when they get distorted, they look, oh, look, bad things are happening because of that. And then they look for once again, government as a means, right, as a blunt instrument or object to try to tamp that out and prevent that problem from rising. Well, all they really do, like say, it's like whack-a-mole. You knock that one down. Oh, there's another one. Because once again, government intervention, just arbitrarily intervening without taking like everything into the equation. See, that's the beautiful thing about the market, right? None of us could ever sit there and guess or pretend to know, how many bushels of wheat, Albertan farmers will need this year. No, but the market will determine based on, thousands and thousands of people, their input, right? Without no central planner involved, just the thousands and thousands of farmers, their input, right? And all the aggregate of all that, like the resources, the trucking companies, the grain producers, all that stuff, right? All that stuff is reflective of the market. But the minute you try to use government, right? Like government, like I said, and this has been used many times before, I'm sure you might have even heard it yourself, is government is like a big giant hammer. And when you got a big giant hammer, well, every problem out there is going to start having to look like a nail now, isn't it? Because that's literally the only tool in your arsenal is a big hammer. So it's like, well, I hope it's a nail, because if not, I might end up causing a lot more damage, right? And that's typically and genuinely what happens. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. It's not good, and some people are being harmed by it. But once again, if we had anything remotely resembling a free market in terms of like housing in this country, well, the prices, these ridiculous valuations would be nowhere near where we're at, right? And rent increases, there would be much more competition out there, right? That's the thing. Competition drives down prices. Think about it. There wouldn't be no such possible way that anyone would be able to bid up rent or prices or housing, like rent or housing prices, right? If the free market of competition was allowed to flourish. Because the minute someone tried to bid it up, someone else would be saying, well, I want a chunk of that action. And once they create more supply, and someone else like, well, hey, I want some of that action too. And they create more supply, and they create all these people who want to get in on that action, get a chunk of that profit, right? The more they create the supply, well, now all of a sudden there's less, right, that they're going to be able to charge. So now they're scrambling to figure out how can I become more efficient or find a way where I get a little bit with that shrinking profit margin. Now, how much can I get out of that, right? Competition lowers prices. Central planning, big government, and coercion, of course, it's just like with insurance. If I can force you to use my service, yeah, price is going to increase, right? Once again, it's just really, 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 those are just really mostly very simple, easy to understand things, as simple as, like I say, supply and demand. But it's crazy. People can come out of our education or indoctrination system these days, right, to these students to the tunes of tens of thousands or whatever a year, or hundreds of thousands a year, and not even have a basic understanding. And same with the political class. Well, although I suspect that a lot of them actually might very well understand it, they just want to reject it because it doesn't suit what they want for themselves, right? Anyways, scrolling on down here, and I just wanted to mention here, I just want to bring one article in here. This is the one talking about the convoy. So let me just bring this up here real quick. I'm not going to keep this stream going too long today either, folks, because I'm trying to ease into these things. Like I say, trying not to get people too discouraged. But there, there's things we want to talk about. And as I mentioned, and the title of this one is scapegoating the unvaccinated. I mean, what a terrible thing to be constantly scapegoating people just because they chose not to get a vaccination, right? It's a terrible thing to do, but we're seeing how coordinated and concerted the effort is to do so. But at least in this particular article of the National Post, was it Courtney Greenberg is pointing out that there's cross-country trucker convoy that's departed BC for Ottawa to protest vaccine mandate. The first leg of the convoy, dubbed the Convoy for Freedom 2022, is set to leave BC on Sunday. A group of truckers is planning to drive across the country to protest a federal vaccine mandate in Canada's capital. The first leg of the convoy, dubbed the Convoy for Freedom 22, is set to leave BC on Sunday. Convoy organizers plan to arrive in Ottawa on January 29th, where truckers from other provinces will join. Nice. I know a lot of drivers who are impacted by this. It has basically removed them from the workforce, BC truck driver Colin Valentin told the Vancouver Sun. Valentin will lead the BC leg of the convoy, taking the western route, and expects to be accompanied by others along the way. Two other convoys have different starting points. The eastern route is to begin on January 27th in Enfield, Nova Scotia. The southern route will leave on the same day from Windsor, Ontario. A GoFundMe page for the cause has raised more than $560,000 to help with food, lodgings, and fuel for the truckers. Which, let me just point out there now, folks. Actually, I believe. Actually, let me just go over here and check how much the old GoFundMe is on the Twitter. I'm just going to check that. I believe it's up over $1 million there now. Let's see. And it's still trending, by the way, too. Truckers for Freedom is still trending. Actually, I might as well bring you folks along as I navigate through the Twitter. Okay, share the screen. Let's bring it up here. Bring up the old twit. Okay, so I just clicked on the Truckers for Freedom, as you can see, and Maxime Bernier. I can't get over the insanity of our government deliberately and needlessly disrupting supply chains, creating more shortages in stores. There's no problem with truckers for 2 years. COVIDism is a call. Yep, Truckers for Freedom. Hashtag Truckers for Freedom. Oh, Blacklocks reporter. What's this going on here? Labor Minister Siemens O'Regan's office says paid sick leave for private sector should not be too generous. Letter to sender claims employees like truckers would take advantage of automatic benefits. Well, I'll just let me click on that because I'll have to check on that, read that a little bit later. Blacklocks, by the way, is a great reporting media outlet in Canada. Does a great job of trying to hold big government to account. Here you go. How many truckers does it take to close off Ottawa? Nice, nice. But yeah, as you can see, it's still trending. Let's see if I can get to the old GoFundMe here. It was down here. Oh, there we go. So there it is, folks. Let me just make sure you folks can see that. Yeah, there you go. So there it is. So look at that, Freedom Convoy 2022. And this was, when was this last updated? So this was 17 hours ago. This was actually shared 17 hours ago. So I would imagine it's probably quite a bit higher than that even. So it was at $1,061,110. Nice. Isn't that impressive? Very impressive. But yeah, so like I say, even just little things. Of course, there's lots of other things that we can do, but even something little like, retweeting or sharing some of these tweets, right? So like I say, getting this stuff trending, because this is what's getting people out there and anxious and on board with supporting these truckers, because they're like, this is something that's happened. It's a growing movement. It's got to be something worthwhile if it's actually right? I mean, just within the last, was it trending 33 or 23,000 tweets. Not sure how long that is over, but yeah, so that's great, folks. So definitely check that out. But yeah, look at that. All those great truck drivers out there. Fort Erie, Niagara region. Look, here's another one. They're going to be leaving from Fort Erie in the Niagara region, January 23rd, 10 a.m. So yeah, just check out, like I say, go check out this hashtag and find out, where you can go and show your actual support. Maybe you can join in with the convoy, or show up in Ottawa and as a show of solidarity and support with these fine truck drivers. But yeah, over $1 million already. That's a heck of a lot of money, to raise in such a short period of time. Anarchy only means no rulers. And last I checked, humans are pretty stupid. What a predator class, I know, right? That is true. That's one of the biggest problems, obviously, with the term. And obviously, Rika understands that is the term anarchy is the pretense that anarchy is like a bunch of Molotov cocktail throwing rioters and violent people, right? But no, anarchy, as Rita or Rika suggests, it's just the absence of rulers. It has nothing to do with not having rules. It's the thing. When people say, "Oh, you just don't want to have any rules," like what? That could never be the case. Now, sure, there are some people who are like extremely rebellious and rail against a lot of rules, no doubt about it. I don't think I've ever met anyone in my life that doesn't believe in having any rules whatsoever. How would you even navigate in your mind or in the real world if there was no such thing as rules or principles or anything that guides what you do, right? That doesn't even make sense on the surface. Never mind if you actually sit down and actually think about it for any amount of time, right? Throats get a little dry there. All right, so anyways, I'll make sure I'll place the link to that truck driving article. And of course, you're seeing now too. There are places that even some places I know is here in New Brunswick. There are even some store shelves that are emptying up. And where do we get here? Yeah. Oh, let me read this one. And this is another thing. Let me bring this up. So this isn't just the latest in the string of CBC articles. I actually, you know what I was going to do, but you know what, for the sake of keeping this stream not too long, what I was going to do, I had about 7 or 8 articles all lined up that I was going to show a clip of each one of them, or a screenshot of each one of them. There was CTV, CBC, Global News, City TV, basically all the Canadian, or most of the those who comprise the Canadian media landscape, and the articles from each and every one of them, pumping up the narrative of division or targeting the unvaccinated or scapegoating the unvaccinated. That's the thing with these hacks in the media doing so. Yeah, they're reveling in it now, right? And they're enjoying that little base of support that gets all excited with whipping up this kind of division. But like I say, in due time, I firmly believe that this is going to bite the established media right directly in their ass, especially in the age of information, in the age of social media, in the age where it's proven that their business model or their model is easily replicated, like with very minimal resources, right? And actually, there's much better models out there than establishment media trying to cover a really important topic like a vaccine mandate, where you give your panelists 30 seconds to answer that question. Like I say, so much fail. But you know what? Let the dinosaurs be dinosaurs, right? And I know it's ridiculous that we should even have to pay for the CBC at this point in time. But like I say, eventually the time will come where there's going to be a whole lot of self-reflection and just reflecting on what the media and the ruling class did for the last 2 years. And I believe quite a few Canadians are going to be like, that's it. Fool me once, fool me twice. You fool me far too many times. No more and never again. Hopefully that day is coming sooner rather than later. But let me bring this article up here, because this is just one that, like I say, this is one of the most recent iterations. And of course, it's out of CBC News. Basically, it's just them projecting, right? CBC contributors and, like I say, the media and ruling class types, they're just projecting their own mindset and thought processes. That's what they're doing. So let's hear what Eric or Evan Dyer is thinking or is reporting. CBC News Politics, public outrage over the unvaccinated is driving a crisis in bioethics. And this is the part that's so funny, folks. Pandemic brings unprecedented disagreements among doctors over how to triage those who refuse the shot. And when they say the shot, like this Evan Dyer guy, like, are you dense? Do you honestly think that if the unvaccinated just got one vaccine, like the shot that is done? Come on, at least try to be the slightest bit honest in your reporting, Evan. Once your credibility is just going to be diminished. Oh, actually, that's a good thing. So let me continue on. So this was reported, like I say, January 22nd. It was actually this morning, 4 a.m. It's up in the wee hours of the morning, right? Posting this. The pandemic has triggered a new debate over what used to be a settled principle of bioethics, that you don't treat patients differently based on past behaviors that may have contributed to their condition. Well, there. Done. That's the way it should be, right? That is the way it should be. Right? Universally consistent ethics, right? Where nobody gets targeted or treated unfairly or as a second-class citizen. That's universalized. And you know what? The beautiful thing about universal ethics is it's applicable to everyone and it benefits everyone, right? But yet, if you read on further, it seems like nowadays there's some people who are questioning that. Well, who are these people that are questioning it? First and foremost, the core fundamental principle of clinical ethics tells us that once a person enters the hospital as a patient, whatever got them there is no longer part of the equation, said Bardit Ravitsky, who teaches bioethics at the University of Montreal and Harvard Medical School. The most extreme example I have ever seen was when I lived in Israel and a suicide bomber detonated on a bus, killing and injuring civilians around him. Somehow he was not killed by the explosion and he arrived at the hospital with his victims. Once they entered the hospital, everyone was treated equally. There was no sense of prioritizing the victim in relation to the person who caused the injury. But the COVID-19 pandemic, which has overturned so many norms and assumptions, is now testing that principle. So what a weird thing. That's quite an extreme case. I agree, right? That's a very extreme case there, where you're talking about a terrorist that purposely chose to, willingly, provably so, right? Easy peasy, nice to fucking put that in the court of law and it's easy done. Guilty, right? Because anyways, but even there, their principle of ethics, of universal ethics, was, well, we're still even going to treat this terrible, terrible man that did such a terrible, terrible thing, right? But yet now they're going to say, but in the age of a pandemic, right, of COVID, which once again, now, of course, the number varies based on what age range or group that you're taking into account, and whether there's comorbidities or prior health conditions, or, like I say, their age, their weight, all that stuff. But in reality, the culmination, what is it? Like 99% of people, right? Except for the very old. Like, first of all, if you strip out the old, that's the thing. That's the thing about averages. Because all the older elderly, the 80-year-olds, the 90-year-olds, the ones with multiple comorbidities, because it's all included in that number, it skews it down a little bit to, so it's like just barely 99%. Or I've seen where it actually might even be only like 98 point, let's say 7 or 8%, which is still really high. But once you strip out, like I say, the ones who are truly vulnerable, the immunocompromised, the really old and elderly, and the ones with comorbidities, once you strip all them ones out who have died or been severely had severe health outcomes, or had to go to the hospital and do long stints or whatever, if you strip all those folks out, like I say, those are the people who are really, 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 really susceptible to having negative outcomes. But it's still, once you strip that out, you would basically end up with a 99 in the high 99% survival rate. So, for something that for the overwhelming majority of this, there's a 99% survival rate, why would you want to change your ethics? Or why would you want to try to treat? Well, that's another thing. What if here's a scenario that I'd like to ask, because I read this whole article earlier, actually, and I didn't see it covered in there. But what if I, broke my leg, but I also ended up getting COVID, right? So you test me at the hospital and I have COVID or I'm unvaccinated. So you're like, oh, well, we can't let him fill up a hospital bed because he has COVID. But at the same time, the real reason why I went to the hospital was because I had a broken leg, right? It wasn't necessarily COVID, but I mean, think about it. Who are all these? First of all, when they're saying the unvaccinated, that's the other thing is you got to think about the mental image of the type of people that they're targeting when they're saying these unvaccinated people, right? Who are filling up the hospital beds. I mean, you know darn well your average healthy 30 or 40-year-old or 20-year-old or whatever, right, is not the ones that's filling up the hospital bed. So the people who are filling up the hospital beds, the unvaccinated, would still fit that typical type of people, which would be like, say, the very old, the fragile, the immunocompromised, and those with comorbidities. So they're targeting people who are already, have it pretty bad health-wise as it is. And now they're saying that they're going to make it even worse by not even possibly giving them the ability to go and give them healthcare services or forcing them to pay out of pocket. Well, what if they're poor, right? Once again, this whole thing with paying out of your pocket or charging the unvaccinated, where are the lefties saying, well, that would only benefit the rich, right? Where are the lefties out there, right? Where are the lefties? Where are the social justice warriors and activists saying, well, no, if you charge people, especially for Quebec and wanting to charge a tax, right? And did you hear about Austria? So in Austria, they came down and they voted in favor of their vaccine mandate, but it's not a mandate because all you have to do is pay a $3,500 or 3,500 euro fine, and that's it. So you can go spread all you want after you pay your fine. So where are the SJWs, like I say, and same with here in Canada when you're talking about a vaccine tax or all these premises of charging people for the healthcare, where are all these people saying, well, if you start charging people extra money for their healthcare, if they're unvaccinated, well, where's the divide of, well, the rich unvaccinated people will be like, well, I'll just pay the fine and I'm good, I'm golden. Whereas the poor people, it's going to severely punish them detrimentally, right? But I don't hear. I'm waiting. Crickets. Where are all the SJWs? Standing up for the minority, standing up for the oppressed. Right? Where are they? Well, they're not there. So it just goes to show you how benevolent or compassionate they truly are. Once again, folks, people like myself have known all along. People can put on the pretense that they love to sacrifice themselves for others, but in reality, most people, what you truly sacrifice is for those you deem as part of your group or part of your clique or part of your family or and even then, you'll still pick and choose which ones you would ultimately sacrifice yourself for. So it's absolute farce when these lefties come out and say how blindly compassionate and accepting and tolerant they are. I mean, Trudeau basically proved that, right? And his ilk, who are all out there cheering him on, as he said, should we even tolerate these unvaccinated Canadians, right? So this is another thing. This is, like I say, it's terrible. You hate to see this kind of stuff taking place, but at the very least, it's reminding Canadians, especially the fence sitters, especially those who are either apolitical or typically don't get actively involved in these kind of discussions because they've been sitting on the sidelines and they've been paying attention. Some of them have, right? And they're like, that Canadian libertarian guy, I don't really like. He can be a little bit, harsh and abrasive at times. I don't like his hair or I don't know, whatever, right? But you know what? Can't lie. What he says is true, right? You got to expect that I've even seen the reason why I'm using myself as an example, because I've actually had that, right? Where it's like, yeah, I don't really care much for you. I've gotten messages on these. And I think you're a bit of a, I don't know, asshole or whatever, you get, but you're right about this or something. It's like, well, gee, thanks. Really appreciate that. Anyways, let me just read a little bit more here, folks. Vaccinated majorities in wealthy Western countries are growing increasingly impatient with a science-denying minority being blamed for prolonging the pandemic and stretching critical care resources to the breaking point. Increasingly impatient with a science-denying minority, right? So this is to suggest that the people who are filling up these hospital beds, which once again, it's not even when you talk about hospitalizations, okay, ICU beds, there is some areas where there is the unvaccinated represent a larger number than the vaccinated. But when you're talking about hospitalizations, every chart I've seen so far where they actually break it down to vaccinated or unvaccinated in Canada, in every jurisdiction, is showing clearly that it's the vaccinated who are filling up most of the hospital beds. So once again, this is and science denying. How could you throw everybody? Like I say, this is the problem with treating people as if they're all a monolith or as if they're NPCs. But you know what? Projecting, because these people like this contributor here, he has to do the NBC thing, right? So he perceives as everyone else. He's projecting the fact he must perceive as everyone else as NPCs because he is. He's one of those people that'll just parrot the narrative. Well, I mean, he's doing it, right? He is the proverbial NBC. So he would expect and project that that's how he's going to collectivize and treat people who are on the opposing side. He just wants to think that they're all just like a monolith, a team of all people that think, act, and believe the exact same thing, which is so wrong. That's the beautiful thing, too, about when I see these protests. And even when some of these hacks in the establishment media go to them, they actually see for themselves, like, oh, look, here we were expecting to go there, see nothing but a bunch of white, middle-aged, conservative, and libertarian men, misogynist, sexist, racist, extremists, right? But then you show up to these places and it's like, oh wait, look, there's Asian people, there's First Asian people, there's black people, there's people from there's white people, black people, there's um women, men, there's like but when they show up there and they see, oh, wait a minute, this is nothing like I was told. Once again, that is another area where it's going to help expand and enlighten the minds of lots of Canadians as to how they're going to think about the narrative. Because none of it's fitting, right? If one thing doesn't fit, you're like, okay, all right, a little bit, they were wrong there. But when the media has proven time and time and time and time again that every piece of the puzzle that they try to place doesn't fit or go anywhere that they suggest it does, well, like I say, after you get to the point where 2 years later and you can't even remotely assemble the puzzle, well, maybe you should start scratching your head and think, well, hey, do you even have the right pieces here? Is this even the same puzzle, right? Apparently not. Um, okay, where are we at here? And stretch and critical thing. And that's the other thing. We know that what it is. It's not that there's, and I was just listening to another video when you're in Ontario is there's and a doctor was upset. He was even upset. Can we at least be honest about the fact? And I was really happy to see him. He was basically saying, listen, can we at least be honest and just say, what is the point of saying we have these beds available when we don't have any staff? What it is at the end of the day, folks, is there are beds available in lots of jurisdictions across this country. The problem, and as was expressly um, suggested by that doctor, was that, but there's no one. You put a bunch of them on unpaid leave, basically fired them, right, for not getting vaccinated. Then a whole bunch of them are like, well, why would I go to work and deal with all that madness when I can sit at home? You know, all right, I got to take a couple weeks off. So, I mean, the situation, the way governments have been handling this whole thing since the beginning has literally brought us to this place because they've been incentivizing this kind of destructive behavior and habits where people, like I say, they're just using government as a means to an end, or they're finding ways to game the system and get a little bit for themselves. And I'm seeing that taking place. And no wonder. It's like a free for all out there. Anyways, folks, I'm not going to read the entirety of this article. Like I say, I'm going to try to keep these streams relatively short for a little while because I don't want to go too crazy, but I will just check a few more comments. So we're an hour in. See how many more of these comments we're going to read. And then, like I say, might tie it up. Maybe might even go to the hour and a half mark. Well, we'll see. Yeah, hallway medicine has been a problem for a good 50 years. Yeah, isn't that true? I knew that years ago. Actually. Problem, reaction, solution. Again and again. Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining the stream there, by the way. Debbie Vax, Xan Dumont, and Ayaz Lekov. Thank you, folks, for joining the stream. What's this one? Smoke 'em Butt-esque. BBC, crimes against humanity is a worldwide problem right here, right now. And that is true. That is so true. Hey, official blasphemy, what's going on? But really, even if you were a huge jerk, I would still fight by your side for freedom, not to be a pushover, but there's bigger fish to fry than trending to my feelings. Yeah, exactly. Well said. I'm with you there. I'm with you there, right? I've had lots of disagreements with people in the past too. I'm all over it. It's what it is. Let's just do the right thing here, folks, because freedom and liberty is what matters most, right? Trudeau should be charged with spewing hatred. Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, but I'll just mention real quick. I don't believe in hate speech laws personally. I think it would set bad precedent, right? As much as he's a despicable, disgusting character, and the fact that he's in charge of the government, which represents the monopoly of force, and is targeting the powerless minorities in the country. Yeah, I mean, and the things that like labeling people racist. I mean, I could see a defamation thing there, you know, right? Especially if he's targeting specific groups per se, or even the individual. But at the end of the day, racist, misogynist. I don't want that I don't want people calling other people names to be considered hate speech to the point where there can be legal action taken against it, right? Sure, it sounds good, maybe, for a quick moment, that it'd be nice to see Trudeau suffer, right, for what he said. But once again, the precedent would be there then, and it wouldn't be just Trudeau that would suffer after that. So that's the thing. We always got to just take a few minutes, right? Take a few deep breaths and think of, how would this work out in the long run? Would it benefit society or would it be a detriment? Right. And I would suggest it would be a detriment. Salty army. I'd rather dangerous freedom than tyrannical safety. I will not comply. Right on, my friend. I'm the same way. I prefer dangerous liberty over any pretense of safety and security. That's for sure. Yeah, give me. I mean, it's what makes us vibrant, right? I don't know. I would feel. I don't know how the people that want big daddy or big mummy government take care of them. It would just feel so smothering to me. Like I just want to breathe. Can't breathe. Right? Some people, though, apparently they just take shallow breaths. I don't know. The unvaxxed will be left to pick up dead bodies. Well, you never know. You never know. Anything is possible. Yeah. Let's tolerate his tyranny, but yeah, not the unvaxxed. So crazy. Good point. Oh, never mind. You folks are just talking amongst each other. Anyways, folks, like I say, just scrolling back up, seeing if there's any. See, you folks are chatting amongst each other there. Anyways, I'm probably. Well, no, we're going to give her a tell. All right, maybe I'll read that article a little bit more. You want me to? Actually, let me scroll down to the bottom of the comments. Or is there anything in particular? If you want me to actually cover anything, or if you have a question, anything that you want to get out there, because like I say, probably go about an hour and a half, so another 22 minutes or so. But I'm just, like I say, I'm not quite sure where to go right now. Um, so either, like I say, I'll take a few questions, or if you want, I could continue reading from that article and see what else they're thinking. Actually, let me just take another quick look at a few other things. Uh, oh, by the way, if you do need all the articles and stats and charts and all that stuff for showing vaccinated, unvaccinated, all that stuff, my last live stream, it's all contained within there. I put lots of good stuff in there. I'm pretty sure I showed you folks in the last one too, when you're talking about some of these hospitalizations too, that in New Brunswick, like, it's less than half of the people who are in the hospital are actually there for COVID, right? Lots with. Just checking something real quick here. Well, let me bring this one up here too, then, real quick. Yeah, this one's another one. I believe this one's out of New Brunswick, is it? Yeah. 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 New Brunswick, Blaine Higgs. I don't know. That guy seems to, he started out all right. Well, when he had a minority government, right? When the People's Alliance had the 3 seat and could hold Blaine Higgs' feet to the fire because he wasn't in a majority position, right? The Brunswickers were doing a-okay. And then the election happened. The fear narrative worked, and the people chose to give him Higgs a majority. And basically, ever since then, it's been nothing but disappointment, disappointment, and more disappointment. Anyway, so this is a headline out of NB COVID-19 roundup. 3 more deaths. Doctors seek tougher rules for the unvaccinated. That's the thing with these doctors, right? Do no harm. But all they ever want to do, it seems, to the unvaccinated is cause harm, right? Weird. So much for the Hippocratic Oath. 124 people with COVID-19 now in hospital, public health reports. This was reported by Bobby Jean McKinnon. Well, so look at this. Just in New Brunswick alone, look at that. 417 healthcare workers with COVID now isolated. Gee, I wonder if that'll have anything to do with the fact of, the hospitals are filling up. Or is it that there's 417 healthcare workers, that are now isolated? And do they have COVID, or they just want to take time off, or they're just sick of the madness, right? Who would know? 12 people in ECU, including 9 on ventilators. So a whole 12 people in a province of New Brunswick of what? 800,000 people. A whole 12 people are in the ICU, and we're in lockdown. The head of the New Brunswick Medical Society says time to get tough with people who resist getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Dr. Mark McKilliam is calling on the province to use penalties such as restricted hours, reduced access, or banning people who are unvaccinated from big box stores such as Costco and Walmart to encourage compliance. Like as if that would matter. Just punish them. That's all. But he stopped short at proposing mandatory vaccinations or following the lead of Quebec and imposing a health tax on the unvaccinated. Well, at least this is one person that's thinking about his reputation going forward, right? Or at least hedging, right? He didn't want to go full on authoritarian, right? Like I say, a lot of these doctors who have put themselves out there publicly like this, see how that works out for you folks in the long run. You might lose a lot of faith and trust in a substantial portion. Even the ones that got the jab will start to really question you. Healthcare is universal across the country. It is a right for every individual to access healthcare. And I want to stress that right now, that no matter what your vaccine status is in the province, if you need a healthcare system, we provide the care that we can at the time of our best. Well, that's awful kind considering I paid for it. Yeah, we'll actually give you the service that you've already paid for. It's like, well, how kind and generous of you. It's not like I even chose to. Like they forced me to. It's like, yeah, we're going to force you to pay for it. But hey, the good thing about me forcing you to pay for healthcare is you're going to get healthcare. I mean, it'd be nice if you didn't use force. It'd be nice if I could voluntarily enter that. That would be a much better option as far as I'm concerned. But now it's like the proverbial gun is still to the head. But it's like, yeah, well, now we're not even going to give you the service. Really? Well, some people, not necessarily this dog. And look at this. More than 8% of eligible New Brunswickers have still not received any vaccine as COVID hospitalizations and case numbers continue to soar because of the Omicron variant. A whole 8%, which suggests, right, unless I'm reading the numbers wrong here, that 92% have had something, some kind of dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, whatever. So, or at least partially or fully vaccinated. 92% are at least partially or fully vaccinated. And yet they're so worried about that 8% of unvaccinated. Really? I wonder why that could be. Because that's the other thing too. It's not like that 8% of the unvaccinated all have COVID, the deadliest form of COVID, and are out there actively trying to spread it around and cause harm to people. Because that's where you would have to get to. You'd have to be able to put all that string of bullshit together to even make the rhetoric work. And then it would still be easily debunked by the sheer fact that there's new vaccines coming to the market. So what's the point of a vaccine mandate for old antiquated vaccines when there's new and improved ones coming to the market within just a couple short months. Like I say, the narrative has been completely lost, folks. Completely lost. In a statement, Premier Blaine Higgs said that he is pleased the New Brunswick Medical Society supports the idea of taking action to encourage vaccination and respects its advocacy for its members and for all healthcare providers. If any changes will be made, they'll be made through cabinet and COVID cabinet committee, he said. Last week, Higgs told CBC News that the province may revisit the issue of mandatory COVID-19 vaccines. Public patience is wearing a little thin toward the unvaccinated, he said. Once again, they're just projecting. They don't see why they have to have restrictions when they have gone the extra mile and got vaccinated. So what it is, and yes, we've definitely seen that. Hey, I had to get vaccinated, so you should have to. That comprises the bulk of every argument I've heard so far. And I've heard a few of them, back in the summer and the fall, like when I was working, even in my job, even out and around, I heard that. Well, I got vaccinated, so of course other people should have to get vaccinated. So really what it is, I had to do it, so should you. It's like, can we start acting like fucking adults? That would be at least a baseline requirement here is, can you at least act like adults? But yet Blaine Higgs and his supporters are willing to put on publicly that they act like little children throwing temper tantrums. He got ice cream and I didn't. It's really though. Oh man, the emperor truly has no clothes, folks. New Brunswick may also follow Quebec's lead on asking for proof of COVID-19 vaccination at liquor and cannabis stores, he has said, noting everything is on the table as the province increasingly uncomfortable for people who choose not to be vaccinated. So once again, they haven't even, have you noticed something missing in the discourse these days by these hacks in the media? I have not seen anything here about following the science. Never heard that word brought up at all, did you? Because there's absolutely nothing scientific about increasingly making people uncomfortable, or as Macron said, pissing them off, or as Justin Trudeau, tolerating, right? Like these people, what they're admitting, they're literally admitting that they want to just make your life miserable arbitrarily until you submit, comply, or conform to what they demand of you. Right. Well, I got to tell you, I can only speak for myself, and those who I know in my immediate surrounding, that's not going to work for any of us. None of us. Zero. Actually, we're batting 100% the people I surround myself with and saying, not over my dead body, or that'd be about the only way, right? So good luck and all that, because your strategy is going to fail miserably. But go ahead. Show the New Brunswickers just how tyrannical you'll be, because once again, that'll benefit liberty lovers like myself, ultimately in the long run. Matter of fact, I imagine Blaine Higgs may very well turn more people in New Brunswick towards libertarianism than I've done in the last 10 years. Right? So keep it up there, Blaine. New Brunswick. Oh, yeah. Higgs also asked various departments for suggestions regarding where restrictions can be tightened for the unvaccinated. So, hey, anybody, give me a phone. Give me another phone. Get me in touch with this one. Hey, somebody, please give me suggestions, emails, somebody. I need to know, how can we punish the unvaccinated? Come on, give me suggestions. I might actually do it. It's like, really though? Oh, like I say, Blaine Higgins. He's a boomer in every sense of the word. And I'm sorry, I don't mean that. Actually, I should let me clarify. No, that's a terrible thing to say. So I gotta do this. I gotta say, not all boomers, because that's a bad thing to say. But I gotta say, folks, as someone who was raised by boomers and knew a lot of boomers growing up, right? Oh, there was a lot of do as I say, not as I do. Might makes right. And basically, whether it was your parents, teachers, principals, preachers, right? Uncles, aunts. I mean, basically, it was a free-for-all for using violence as a means to an end when you're raising your children, right? That was basically a boomer That was their strategy and how they raised their kids. Not all, like I say, lots of exceptions, outliers, and all that stuff. So if you're not one of them, I'm not talking about you. But a substantial portion of them, and it's not just the boomers. It was kind of historically was a thing, right? But yeah, using violence, might makes right, and do as I say or else, right? Using force, intimidation, coercion, right? All that stuff. So to see them today using the same strategy, right, that they used to raise their kids and treating citizens, once again, how paternalistic, right? Anyways, folks, I'm going to tie this stream up there. I really appreciate all you folks turning out to the stream and enjoying. I enjoy having the chats or reading the chats. And once again, thank you so kindly for the amazing and generous donation. I'm just trying to scroll back up here. Just want to point it out again. Holy jumping. Lots of comments here, folks. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to get all the way up there or not. Whoa, where did it go? 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 Oh, wait, now it's actually gone. Shoot. Oh, there it is. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there it is. So once again, thank you so kindly, Matt Dugas. Like I'm just so thankful. And like I say, I will 100% put this to good use. You can guarantee and rest assured that I will definitely put this to good use, and I'll definitely help by supporting the truck drivers out there and help them to increase and bump up um, that GoFundMe account by at least a little bit of amount too. So thanks once again, and thanks all you folks that joined the stream. And like I say, I'll be doing probably another one next week. I'm looking forward to my son. He's been really busy as of late. He's now living in New Brunswick, trying to get everything squared away. He's going to looking to get himself into a house here in the spring. So he's got a lot to do, got a lot on his table. We're going to do a live stream together here at some point in time, might even be next weekend. And like I say, I'm going to start getting out and reaching out to other people and doing some collaborating with other like-minded Canadians. Or like I say, even for those, even if you know people who want to challenge, people like myself or have a discussion, in-depth discussion or debate regarding anything as it pertains to liberty, right? When you're talking about COVID or anything else or climate change or any of this stuff, anything as it pertains to liberty, is I'm always willing to sit down and engage and have long form discussions with people so we can really hammer out ideas and get to the bottom of what the thought processes are in our mind that lead us to have the kind of opinions or stances that we take, because it's really important. That's the beautiful thing is talking with each other. Not only does it help bring us together, but it helps us to understand where we're coming at, like where, like, if you just see someone post someone, on Twitter, right? That doesn't tell you a whole lot about the person. But if you sit down and have a discussion with them, right? And you can see the verbal or hear the verbal cues or see their expressions in their eyes and on their face, like that's how we humans, that's how we properly communicate. And like I say, that's the best way and that's the best strategy going forward, which is why things such as podcasts or these long form live streams have been so beneficial to those of us who are standing up and fight for liberty. So anyways, you folks have yourself a great rest of your Saturday, great rest of the weekend. I got more videos coming out, be coming out probably pretty much one almost every day this week. Like I say, I'm trying to keep on top of all the different subject matter and stories that are coming out there, so we got it all on record. Like I say, really appreciate for all you all, and thanks for all the truck drivers are out there that are doing their best to stand up for freedom in this country. Hashtag truckers for freedom. I support you all. I stand in solidarity with you all, and I thank you very much for everything you're doing. So thanks to all you, and thanks to the people in the chat. Have a great weekend. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.